A police training academy attacked. An international airport stormed. And a presidential jet set on fire. All recent terror attacks in Bamako, the capital of Mali, a country in West Africa. Weeks before those attacks, these scenes had emerged from neighboring Burkina Faso. Armed gunmen riding motorcycles and on a shooting spree, with bodies strewn on ground. Dozens were killed in these attacks. So what should one make of the security situation in West Africa? Well, many terrorist organizations operate in West Africa. Among the prominent ones are Boko Haram. Originating in Nigeria, Boko Haram has expanded its operations to neighboring countries including Chad, Cameroon and Niger. Another one is Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb. Active in Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger, AQIM seeks to impose strict Islamic law. And there is also Islamic State in the Greater Sahara or ISGS. Operating in Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger, ISGS has pledged allegiance to the Islamic State. So why has West Africa become a hotspot of terrorism? Many factors are contributing to terrorism here. One of them is poverty and economic instability. Economic disparities and lack of opportunities create a fertile ground for extremist ideologies. Another factor is weak governance. Ineffective institutions and porous borders enable terrorist groups to operate freely. Countries such as Mali, Niger and Burkina Faso have suffered from successive weak governments characterized by corruption, impunity and disorganization. The elites have failed to provide security for vast sections of the population. Jihadist insurgencies thrive in such a vacuum. Ethnic and religious tensions contribute to terrorism too. Long-standing conflicts between ethnic and religious groups provide a breeding ground for extremism. External influences play a role too, with global terrorist networks and foreign fighters exacerbating the situation. The colonial past of these countries share the blame too. Now meet this 20-year-old orphaned migrant sitting on a concrete bench scrolling through WhatsApp messages. While he is in Barcelona's Ciutat de la Park, his thoughts have wandered thousands of kilometers away to his village in Mali, where jihadists had upended his life.
I traveled for 2 years and I left because of the war.
Islamic militants killed his parents and his siblings were missing. Believing he was the last of his family, the young man packed his bags for a perilous 2-year journey that ultimately brought him to Spain, where he is now seeking asylum. Overshadowed by the wars in Ukraine, the Middle East and Sudan, conflict in the Sahel region of Africa rarely garners global headlines, but it is contributing to a sharp rise in migration from the region towards Europe at a time when anti-immigrant far-right parties are on the rise and some EU states are tightening their borders. According to the United Nations International Organization for Migration or IOM, the route to Europe with the steepest rise in numbers this year is via West African coastal nations to Spain's Canary Islands. So while many like him have migrated or are desperate to migrate, the consequences of terrorism in West Africa have been devastating. Displacement, violence, and human rights abuses have led to a severe humanitarian crisis. Terrorism has led to economic instability by disrupting trade, investment, and economic growth. It also threatens regional stability with potential spillover effects into neighboring countries. That's because the swaths of territory under jihadist control risk becoming training grounds and launch pads for more attacks on major cities such as Bamako or on neighboring states and western targets in this region or beyond. But there has been an international response to this terrorism which has come in different forms, like regional cooperation. The Economic Community of West African States, or ECOWAS, and the African Union have tried to fight terrorism. Military interventions have taken place too. International military interventions, such as the French-led Operation Barkhane, aim to degrade terrorist capabilities. Development assistance is coming in too. International organizations and countries provide development aid to address underlying economic and social issues. But there are challenges, like Western powers that previously invested in trying to beat back the jihadists have now very little capacity left on the ground. So what is needed now is sustained commitment, as long-term commitment can address root causes and support regional security efforts. Strengthening institutions and promoting good governance are essential too. Enhanced cooperation among West African countries is also vital to prevent terrorist groups from exploiting borders. So to sum it up, terrorism in West Africa poses a significant threat to regional stability and development, and addressing the root causes, strengthening regional cooperation, and sustaining international support are critical to combating this menace. A comprehensive approach that balances security measures with development and governance reforms is needed to mitigate the threat of terrorism in West Africa. But the international community must also hear the voices of people affected by terrorism, violence, and insurgency. Technology provides real opportunities to link those affected directly to policymakers, charities, government, and society more widely. Solutions need to be as much African as they are international.